Will the House come to order? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Alcos, Ms. Amato, Ms. Bellotti, Mr. Chun, Ms. Cochran,
Excused.
Mr. Evslin, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Garrett, Ms. Grandinetti, Mr. Hashem, Mr. Holt, Mr. Hussey, Ms. Ichiyama, Mr. Iligan, Ms. Iwamoto, Ms. Kahaloa, Ms. Capella, Ms. Kohokapu Liloy, Mr. Kila, Ms. Kitagawa, Mr. Kong, Mr. Kush, Ms. Lachika, Ms. Lamosao, Mr. Lee, Ms. Lowen, Ms. Martin, Mr. Matayoshi, Ms. Matsumoto, Mr. Miyake, Ms. Morikawa, Mr. Muraoka, Mr. Olds, Ms. Peruso, Mr. Pirik, Ms. Poe Poe, Mr. Quinlan, Ms. Reyes Oda, Mr. Sayama, Mr. Shimizu, Ms. Souza, Mr. Takayama, Ms. Takenouchi, Mr. Tam, Mr. Tarnas, Ms. Templo, Mr. Todd, Mr. Woodson, Mr. Yamashita. Madam Speaker.
Here.
Madam Speaker, 49 members are present, 1 is excused.
Item number 2, reading of the journal, Representative Morikawa.
Madam Speaker, may this matter be deferred.
So ordered. Item number 3, messages from the governor. Mr. Clerk, are there any messages from the governor?
Madam Speaker, there are none.
Item number 4, Senate communications. Mr. Clerk, are there any Senate communications?
Yes, Madam Speaker, if you and the members will turn your attention to the addendum to today's order of the day. We are in receipt of communications informing the House that the Senate has disagreed to the amendments proposed by the House to the noted Senate bills. We are in further receipt of communications transmitting the noted Senate concurrent resolutions, all having been adopted in the Senate. We are in further receipt of communications returning the noted House bills, all having been passed third reading in the Senate.
Representative Todd.
Madam Speaker, I move to disagree to the amendments made by the Senate to the noted House bills.
Representative Morikawa.
Madam Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussion? Members, we will be taking a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Introductions. Members, are there any introductions? Representative Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to introduce two individuals in the gallery who's here in honor of our friend and colleague, Representative Ward, former office manager Jamie Shadell. Please rise to be recognized. And former intern of Rep. Ward and close friend Kendrick Chang, please stand to be recognized. Thank you for being here in honor of Rep. Ward. Mahalo.
Representative Iligan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm delighted to introduce to you a friend in tech. His name is Trung Lam. Please rise. He is very passionate in helping entrepreneurs in the tech community, as well as creating and generating a Hawaii tech ecosystem. He's also an organizer that's going to be helping us with Capital Connection. It's going to be on April 10th at the 4th floor from 1 to 4 p.m. So colleagues, please, let's welcome Trung Lam to your House of Representatives.
Representative Evslin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to welcome and introduce my friend Pat Gagan and his students, 7th and 8th grade students from Island School who are here today visiting the Capitol. If you could please rise. They are here for a History Day competition, and they included the Capitol today along with the Judiciary and Iolani Palace as site visits. So welcome to your House of Representatives. And permission to insert their names into the journal.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Representative Matsumoto.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to introduce Representative Ward's staff, who is in the gallery today. We have his office manager, Jillian Anderson, his legislative aide, William Duke, and his other legislative aide, Scarlett Covington Kemble. If we can give them a round of applause. They put in a lot of work this session, and I know Representative Ward would have been very proud. Thank you.
Any further introductions? Representative Iwamoto.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to acknowledge an amazing community advocate and organizer, June Shin. Welcome to your House of Representatives. Thank you.
Representative Shimizu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to just introduce my session legislative aide, Shotaro Dabbs. He's a hard worker, and I just wanted to acknowledge him. Please stand and be recognized. Welcome to your House of Representatives.
Okay, if there are no further introductions, let's move on to the order of the day. Item number 5, unfinished business. Representative Morikawa for the motion to suspend the rules.
Madam Speaker, I move to suspend the rules of the House in order to consider certain Senate bills for third reading by consent calendar.
Representative Garcia.
Madam Speaker, I second the motion.
Any questions? Members, we will be taking a voice vote. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, say no. The motion is carried. Representative Todd.
Madam Speaker, I move to adopt Standing Committee Report numbers 1758 through 1786 as listed on pages 1 through 8, and that the accompanying Senate bills as amended pass third reading.
Representative Morikawa.
Madam Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussion on these items, beginning with HSCR number 1758? Representative Iwamoto.
Reservations.
So ordered. On the top of page 2, Standing Committee Report 1759. Representative Iwamoto.
Reservations.
So ordered. 1760, 1761, 1762. Moving on to the top of page 3, Standing Committee Report number 1763. Representative Iwamoto.
Reservations.
So ordered. 1764, 1765. Representative Amato.
Reservations.
So ordered. 1766. We're at the top of page 4. Standing Committee Report 1767, 1768, 1769, 1768. Representative Grandinetti.
Thank you. 1768 with reservations.
So ordered. Representative Shimizu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support with reservations and comments, please.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and colleagues, for your patience and charity with me. My commenting stems from the need and desire to express context for certain vote decisions for my constituents who share with me they appreciate being educated, to be more engaged, to understand the process. I also appreciate my colleagues' counterpositions that help me grow in my understanding and has allowed me to change my vote on previous occasions. In speaking on SB 66, there are some good things to help the permitting process in this bill, and I support that. My reservations lie in my concerns in the details that may still need to be worked out so that there is no confusion and delays as this new process is implemented, and to avoid possible issues and conflict between the Department of Permit and Planning and the applicant over who's responsible for causing delays, especially since the department, DPP, was opposed to this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Moving on to Standing Committee Report 1769. 177, Representative Iwamoto.
I apologize, Madam Speaker. With reservations,
So ordered. Representative Reyes Oda.
Reservations.
So ordered. Moving on to Standing Committee Report 1769. 1770, Representative Reyes Oda.
I'm sorry, I thought I was voting on 69 when I first stood up.
Okay, so let's remove your reservations
Yes,
from
thank you.
6-8 and put it for 6-9.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Representative,
same thing for me. My reservation was for 1769.
okay, let's remove Representative Iwamoto's reservations from 1768 and put it on 1769.
Thank you.
Representative Souza.
For 1769 with reservations.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Moving on to Standing Committee Report 1770. 1771. On the top of page 5, Standing Committee Report 1772. 1773. Representative Muraoka.
Reservations.
So ordered. 1774. 1775. Representative Reyes Oda.
Reservations.
So ordered. Representative Shimizu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in opposition with comments, please.
So please proceed.
Thank you. This bill would assign the State Aircraft Rescue Firefighting Unit Chief and change the assignment by allowing the Director of Transportation would appoint the fire chief based on recommendations from 5 candidates from the State Fire Council and subject to the advice and consent of the Senate. There was opposing testimony from the Aircraft Rescue Firefighting Unit, ARFF, and the testimony reads, the Hawaii Firefighters Association, HFFA, Local 1463, AFL-CIO, represents more than 2,000 professional active duty firefighters throughout the state. The HFFA, on behalf of all our members, strongly opposes SB number 1102. And on behalf of their testimony and their membership, I'm opposing this, and I believe we should allow the members to advance through experience and not add layers of bureaucracy. That's why I'm opposing this, and invite my colleagues to oppose as well. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Moving on to Standing Committee Report 1776. Representative Iwamoto.
Reservations.
So ordered. Representative Garcia.
Same request.
So ordered. Representative Amato.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Reservations.
So ordered. Moving on to
Excuse me, Madam
Representative Shimizu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support with reservations.
Please
although
proceed.
There are some safety benefits, the reality is parking is going to be made much more difficult with the 20-foot requirement. Instead of a blanket one-size-fits-all, I believe we should help the counties identify specific locations and intersections that we can target for applications like this bill. And that is my reservation, but I rise in support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Souza.
With reservations.
So
Thank you.
ordered. Representative Hashem.
Reservations, and I take the Transportation's chair words as if they were my own. Thank you.
Representative Matayoshi.
Reservations, brief comment.
So ordered.
So
Please proceed.
I am a little conflicted about this bill. While I do acknowledge that there are safety concerns within our district, within my district as well, concerning crosswalks, there are also parking considerations that I think need to be considered. I also am a little hesitant that all of the funding is going into the Safe Routes to School program special fund, which, although I like the work that that special fund is doing, I understand that in our budget there is appropriated amounts for that special fund already. So I'm not sure why we are necessarily designating certain fines to go to a specific special fund like this. Thank you.
Representative Kila,
Madam Speaker, strong support.
please proceed.
What I'm grateful about this bill, it allows us the opportunity to codify what people are currently doing now, which is explicitly blocking crosswalks, intersections, and safety for our pedestrians. Madam Speaker, the funds generated from this program will go into what's known as the Safe Routes to School Special Fund, and this will continue to allow the counties and the state to expand safety for all our pedestrians to freely walk safely within our communities so that nobody can get hurt. We often see many times that these vehicles don't just block roadways, they're also blocking emergency access for first responders. So I do not want to be in a position where a community cannot get access to first responder needs because a vehicle inhibitedly blocks free access to our first responders in our community. So for those reasons, I'm in strong support.
Representative Tam,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With reservations.
so ordered. Representative Lamsao,
Thank you, Madam Speaker, in strong support.
please proceed.
I understand some of the reservations from my colleagues, but this will certainly help my district. I have a very popular thoroughfare in my district, Paiva Street, which I also live along around that area. And my dad and I have been in 2 very serious car accidents because of cars blocking the intersection and being hazards to other folks that are traversing through Paiva Street. Thank you.
Representative Hussey,
In support, and request to please insert the remarks from the Representative Nanakuli as if they were my own.
so ordered. Moving on to Standing Committee Report 1777, 1778, 1779, 1780. Representative Iwamoto.
Reservations.
So ordered. We're moving to the top of page 7, Standing Committee Report 1781, 1782, 1782. Representative Shimizu.
I'm sorry, Speaker.
One.
1782, when time permits.
Yeah, we're on 1782. Please proceed.
I rise in opposition with comments, please.
So ordered. Please proceed.
The reason that I am in opposition to this bill is reading from the testimony from the Attorney General's office, is the bill would transition the existing needle and syringe exchange program from a one-to-one based exchange model to a needs-based exchange model that provides participants with unlimited number of new needles and syringes per visit. In addition, the bill broadens and clarifies the scope of immunity from prosecution that is provided to program participants and to program staff. The distribution of an unlimited number of new syringes and needles without requiring the return of used syringes or needles raises serious, significant concerns. Explicit illicit drug users to properly and safely dispose of all used needles and syringes is counterintuitive. The proposed HRS section, which grants immunity from prosecution for the possession or delivery of used needles or syringes, is also concerning. Unless there is evidence that syringe exchange participants and program staff are being arrested and charged for possession of illicit drugs under these circumstances, such immunity seems unwarranted. This provision could unduly restrict law enforcement and lead to unintended consequences, particularly in circumstances where a charge for possession of illicit drugs may be appropriate against syringe exchange participants or program staff or both. Another concern with the proposed HRS section is that it does not clearly specify how law enforcement will identify syringe exchange participants who qualify for the proposed immunity prior to arrest, unless a call center service or direct access to records is made available to law enforcement at all hours of the day. It is unclear how law enforcement could verify eligibility in a timely manner. Furthermore, unless the syringe exchange programs require participants to provide government-issued identification or fingerprints, reliably confirming participant identity will be problematic. And lastly, while we appreciate the immunity for possession or distribution of authorized objects under Section HRS and is limited to program staff acting in the course and scope of official duties, it would be unprecedented for any department to be able to establish their own exemption from state law, such as allowing their staff and/or contractors to distribute or possess otherwise illegal drug paraphernalia without at least going through a public hearing process. And that is just reading verbatim from the Attorney General's testimony, and that is the basis of my opposition. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Garcia.
In opposition.
So ordered. Oh, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in strong opposition to this bill, and for those of whom who might not know, in Hawaii currently we have a one-to-one needle exchange program where people can exchange needles if they bring a used one in. That is problematic already with some residents, but I understand that need. This bill goes above and beyond in a very progressive, liberal manner that says free needles for anybody, unlimited amounts of needles. Let me be clear. I believe in compassion. I believe in second chances, but compassion must be balanced with common sense and responsibility. This bill sends the wrong message that government will enable harmful behavior instead of helping people break free from it. Addiction is not solved by giving someone the tools to stay addicted. It's solved by giving people the opportunity to heal. We should be investing in treatment, counseling, detox centers, and real recovery, not normalizing drug use in our communities. Our families are crying out for solutions. Our neighborhoods are already facing the impacts of drug activity on our sidewalks, in our parks, and near our schools. Handing out free needles doesn't lift people up, it traps them in a cycle. Instead of enabling, let's empower. Let's give people a path forward. You look at other cities and jurisdictions across the country that has engaged in passed policies such as this. San Francisco, Chicago, Atlanta, their cities are littered with needles because of programs like this. So I urge my colleagues with common sense to vote no. Thank you.
Representative Reyes-Oda.
Reservations.
So ordered. Representative Hussey.
With reservations and a request to please insert the remarks of the previous two speakers as if in the journal as if they were my own.
So ordered. Representative Olds.
Reservations.
So ordered. Moving on to Standing Committee Report 1783. 1784.
Madam Speaker.
Representative Garcia.
With reservations.
So ordered. Moving to the top of page 8, Standing Committee Report 1785. Representative Shimizu.
With reservations.
So ordered. Representative Matayoshi.
With reservations.
So ordered. Standing Committee Report 1786. Representative Shimizu.
Reservations, please.
So ordered. Representative Morikawa for the vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the measures before us, all majority members vote aye, with the exception of the following. On page 3, STANCOM report number 1766, SP number 79, SD1, HD2, Rep. Iwamoto votes no. On page 4, STANCOM report number 1768, SP number 66, SD2, HD3, the following vote no. Reps. Belatti, Iwamoto, Peruso, Poi Poi. On page 5, StanCom Report Number 1773, SB Number 30HD2, Rep. Amato votes no. For StanCom Report Number 1775, SB Number 1102, SD2HD2, the following vote no. Amato, Poi Poi. On page 7, StanCom Report Number 1782, SB Number 1433, SD2HD2, the following vote no. Kila Kong Lamosao. On page 8, StanCom Report Number 1785, SB Number 1074, SD2HD2, the following vote no. Amato, Grandinetti, Holt, Iwamoto, Kila, Kitagawa, Martin, Peruso, Poi Poi.
Representative Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the measures before us, all minority members vote aye with the exception of the following. On page 4, SCR 1767, Senate Bill 31, Senate Draft 2, House Draft 2. Reps. Aucos, Garcia, and Perrick vote no. SCR 1769, Senate Bill 97, Senate Draft 2, House Draft 2. Reps. Aucos, Garcia, and Perrick vote no. SCR 1770, Senate Bill 344, Senate Draft 1, House Draft 2. Reps. Aucos, Garcia, and Perrick vote no. SCR 1771, Senate Bill 1216, Senate Draft 1, House Draft 2. Reps. Aucos, Garcia, and Perrick vote no. Page 5, SCR 1773, Senate Bill 30, House Draft 2. Rep. Garcia votes no. SCR 1775, Senate Bill 1102, Senate Draft 2, House Draft 2. Reps. Aucos, Garcia, Matsumoto, Shimizu, and Perrick vote no. SCR 1776, Senate Bill 1195, Senate Draft 1, House Draft 2. Rep. Aucos and Perrick vote no. Page 7, SCR 1782, Senate Bill 1433, Senate Draft 2, House Draft 2. Reps. Aucos, Garcia, Matsumoto, Muraoka, Shimizu, and Perrick vote no. SCR 1783, Senate Bill 1452, Senate Draft 1, House Draft 2. Rep. Perrick votes no. Page 8, SCR 1786, Senate Bill 946, Senate Draft 2, House Draft 3. Reps. Aucos, Garcia, Muraoka, and Perrick vote no.
Have all votes been cast? Representative Hussey.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, I missed SCR 1785. Could you please register a no vote for me?
So ordered. Oh. What page and what number again?
That's SCR 1785 on page 8 of the order of the day. SB 1074.
1074. Standing Committee Report 1785. No for Hussey. Got that. Representative Souza.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to register a vote with reservations for page 8, StanCom Report Number 1785, SB Number 1074, SD2HD2.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Representative Amato.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to register reservations for SCR 1786, SB 946, SD2HD3, please.
So ordered.
Thank you.
Okay. Said Senate bills passed third reading. Let's move on to item number 6, reports of standing committees. Representative Todd.
Madam Speaker, I move to adopt Standing Committee Report numbers 1939 through 1947, as listed on pages 8 through 10, and that the accompanying Senate bills, as may be amended, pass second reading and be placed on the calendar for third reading.
Representative Morikawa.
Madam Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussion on HSCR number 1939? 1940. On the top of page 9, Standing Committee Report 1941, 1942, 1943. Representative Garcia.
With reservations.
So ordered. 1944. On the top of page 10, Standing Committee Report 1945, 1946, 1947. Members, we will be taking a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Representative Todd.
Madam Speaker, I move to adopt Standing Committee Report numbers 1948 through 1971 as listed on pages 11 through 16, and that the accompanying Senate bills pass third reading.
Representative Morikawa.
Madam Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussion on these items beginning with HSCR number 1948, 1949, 1949, Representative Matayoshi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With reservations, a brief comment.
Please proceed.
This bill has the same problem that I noted in the last bill. I'm not sure why we are funding the Safe Routes to School Special Fund through kind of a sporadic ticketing process. And I do note that in the general fund, which I do support, there is already an appropriation for this special fund. Thank you.
Moving on to Standing Committee Report 1950, Representative Iwamoto.
Reservations.
So ordered. 1951, 1952. At the top of page 12, Standing Committee Report number 1953, Representative Garcia.
Reservations.
So ordered. 1954, 1955, 1956. On the top of page 13, Standing Committee Report 1957, 1958, 1959, 1960. On the top of page 14, Standing Committee Report 1961, 1962, Representative Reyes-Oda.
Reservations.
So ordered. 1963 and 1964. On the top of page 15, Standing Committee Report 1965, Representative Shimizu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in opposition with comment, please.
Please proceed.
The reason that I oppose this is testimony from the judiciary who this bill affects. And I read from their testimony that if the constitutional amendment proposed by this measure passes and is approved by voters, it could leave judicial vacancies unfilled for an extended period of time, depending on when a vacancy occurs. We would note that the current process of filling judicial vacancies is already time-intensive, with the posting of notice of the vacancy, application, deadlines, candidate interviews, and the determination of qualified applicants, in some cases taking more than a year after a vacancy occurs. This proposed change would prolong the period of vacancy for certain appointments, thus delaying the onboarding of new justices and judges. And since this bill directly affects the judiciary, I believe that we should seriously take into consideration their viewpoint and how this bill affects them, and that is the basis of my opposition, Madam Speaker.
Representative Reyes-Oda.
Reservations.
So ordered. Moving on to Standing Committee Report 1966, 1967, Representative Iwamoto.
I rise in opposition with comments.
Please proceed.
I have serious concerns about funding a part of the University of Hawaii system that really just builds up the militarization. The U.S. Department of Defense is one of the few programs where the current administration is increasing their funding. Meanwhile, our University of Hawaii system as a whole is facing huge budget cuts from the feds. And I imagine that many of us, we're going to have to think about allocating state resources to help existing programs. So because of this huge imbalance between a super-funded Department of Defense and underfunded education, and as well as many other programs that we as a state are going to have to step in on, I just think it's kind of a wasteful use of state funds to fund something that the Department of Defense, again, with all the money it's going to have, could be funding directly. Thank you.
Representative Amato.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support. I realize there is a resistance to want to give military more funding. I personally have a resistance to that. However, this leads to jobs in other high-tech career fields. I mean, we have to provide opportunity and diversification. This is merely an education pathway. It does not necessarily equate to direct jobs within DoD. It's merely the opportunity to learn skills that can be used across a variety of fields. Thank you.
Representative Garcia.
Strong support.
Please proceed.
I think making sure that we have these programs is important. Not only will it benefit the West Oahu community, these programs will be installed at Manoa and UH West Oahu. Having relations between our military is important, and this will provide jobs and career opportunities for families in my district, so in strong support.
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In support, and if I could adopt the words of the representative from Kihei as my own. Thank you.
So ordered. Representative Shimizu.
Same request.
So ordered. Moving on to Standing Committee Report.
Excuse me, Speaker.
Representative Grandinetti.
Thank you. With reservations, please.
So ordered. Moving on to Standing Committee Report 1968. Representative Iwamoto.
Reservations.
So ordered. 1969. Representative Ryozota.
Reservations.
So ordered. Representative Iwamoto.
Reservations.
So ordered. Representative Amato.
Reservations.
So ordered. Moving on to the top of page 16, Standing Committee Report 1970. Representative Kahaloa.
In support.
So ordered. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill is really important for Kona's future. Our community is continuing to grow, and with that growth comes the essential need for housing. We've spent over a decade working with DLNR and the Commission on Water Resource Management to build new water wells in Kona to enable more water credits for workforce housing. We have at least 4 projects, housing projects that cannot be built right now because they do not have access to water resources. No new housing development will be built in Kona without a future with water infrastructure. Therefore, this bill creates a pilot program for comprehensive aquifer monitoring. So it's not just a good idea, it's a necessity for our community. And it may be the only pathway forward. It's why it's a pilot project, and future water development in Kona is critical for housing. So this program helps establish a baseline. If we have data on aquifer monitoring, levels, flow rates, water quality, we can understand our water resources better. We can identify potential risks so that continuous monitoring will allow Seaworm and the state to detect early warning signs for depletion or contamination and enable proactive mitigation. It will help us inform sustainable development. The data gathered will provide crucial insights for planning for future housing projects, ensuring the development occurs within the limits of our water resources. And it will protect our community. By safeguarding our aquifers, we protect the health, well-being, and economic stability of our community for generations to come. I want to thank the Deputy Director of the Department of CWORM for thinking outside the box and working with our community to develop this bill. Investing in this pilot program is not just an expenditure, it's an investment in Kona's future. It will allow local families to be able to continue to live in Kona. It's an investment in sustainable growth, and it's an investment in protecting the very essence of our island home. So let's work together to ensure that housing in our community of Kona can happen sustainably. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Moving on to Standing Committee Report 1971. Representative Iwamoto.
Reservations.
So ordered. Okay. Representative Morikawa for the vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the measures before us, all majority members vote aye with the exception of the following. On page 12, STANCOM report number 1955, SB number 1367, SD1, HD1, Rep. Amato votes no. On page 14, STANCOM report number 1964, SB number 894, SD3, HD1, Rep. Peruso votes no. On page 15, STANCOM report number 1967, SB number 1502, SD1, HD1, the following vote no. Hasi, Iwamoto, Peruso, Poi Poi.
Representative Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the measures before us, all minority members vote aye with the exception of the following. On page 12, SCR 1953, Senate Bill 439, Senate Draft 1, House Draft 1, Rep. Okos votes no. SCR 1956, SB 989, SD1, HD1, Rep. Perrick votes no. Page 13, SCR 1958, SB 299, SD2, HD1, Rep. Perrick votes no. On page 14, SCR 1962, SB 855, SD1, HD1, Reps. Alcos, Garcia, Muraoka, Shimizu, and Perrick vote no. SCR 1964, SB 894, SD3, HD1, Rep. Perrick votes no. Page 15, SCR 1965, SB 121, Reps. Alcos, Garcia, Matsumoto, Muraoka, Shimizu, and Perrick vote no. SCR 1966, SB 1252, SD2, HD1, Rep. Perrick votes no. SCR 1967, SB 1502, SD1, HD1, Rep. Perrick votes no. SCR 1968, SB 1220, SD2, HD1, Rep. Perrick votes no, and Garcia votes no. SCR 1969, SB 1269, SD1, HD2, Reps. Alcos, Garcia, Matsumoto, Muraoka, Shimizu, and Perrick vote no.
Have all votes been cast? Said Senate bills passed third reading. Let's move on to item number 7, third reading bills. Representative Todd.
Madam Speaker, I move that the Senate bills listed on pages 16 through 18 pass third reading.
Representative Morikawa.
Madam Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussion on these items, beginning with SB number 385, SD1, HD1, SB 109, SD2, HD1. On the top of page 17, SB number 116, SD2, HD1, Representative Shimizu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support with comments, please.
Please proceed.
My first thoughts on my vote question supporting this bill, but I was challenged to go deeper in my thought process, as I'm sure we all try to consider seeing things in fresh truth beyond initial impressions or established ways of thinking. I support the purpose of this bill and the desire to protect all people as special, created in God's image. Ideally, I pray for us to be blind in all aspects and judge a person just by their actions and merit alone. I remember hearing Bill SB 228, Excited Delirium. The testimony and discussion I heard that really struck me was the need and importance to state words objectively and descriptively instead of using labels or broad terms that can be highly subjective and mean different things to different people. We should use accurate and factual words to explain or describe a situation. Going back to this bill, if someone feels unsafe or threatened, that alone should be just cause to call 911 and seek remedy. I pray this bill would be a positive step to help us accept each other unconditionally and eliminate labels that can cause more division, to help us all feel safe and accepted. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
SB number 401, SD2,
Madam
HD1, Representative Tarnas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In support?
Please proceed.
Thank you. You know that Hawaii has long prohibited the possession, transfer, and manufacture of semi-automatic handguns with 2 or more listed military features. What this bill does is now prohibit semi-automatic rifles and shotguns that can accept detachable magazines and have 1 or more military-style features, which would include things like pistol grips, threaded barrels that would allow for the attachment of flash suppressors or silencers, folding or telescoping stocks, which would make the firearm easier to conceal or more maneuverable in close quarters, and forward grips, which allow for control when you're using it for rapid fire. This bill would allow people to keep those prohibited firearms that they legally owned before the law goes into effect. So we have a grandfather clause in there. But after the law goes into effect, I want to make it clear that residents would still be able to purchase and own semi-automatic rifles and shotguns that have fixed magazines or that lack the prescribed military-style features. So hunters in our communities, farmers and ranchers that need semi-automatic rifles to control feral ungulates like axis deer or goats that are invading their pastures would still be able to purchase them. There are many state-compliant AR-15 style firearms, also AK-47s. Those are very popular among some enthusiasts. And residents would still be able to purchase them as long as they come with fixed magazines and are featureless, that don't have those prohibited features that I spoke of. And they can accept detachable magazines, but most semi-automatic shotguns already use fixed tubular magazines, and they lack the military style features that I had mentioned. So they would be exempt from this prohibition that we have under this bill. Other firearms that are commonly used for hunting, recreational shooting, self-defense, such as manually operated rifles and shotguns, .22 caliber rifles, and most handguns are all exempt from Senate Bill 401. So this is a very measured bill to support gun safety. It still would allow hunters and farmers and ranchers to purchase semi-automatic rifles for hunting and for ungulate control. But it would provide for the ability for the public to feel more confident that we don't have a lot of semi-automatic rifles that have these military attachments. I want to make it clear also, because a number of our members here were receiving emails from those opposed to this bill saying that what we did in your Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee was a gut and replace, a prohibited practice in our legislative process, and that we were in violation of the League of Women Voters Supreme Court decision. Let me assure you and members that what we did in the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee is we took the text from House Bill 893, HD1, which went through 3 readings in the House and was approved by the House, and we inserted it into Senate Bill 401, SD2, so we are compliant with the 3 readings requirement of the League of Women Voters. Both bills concern the same subject matter. The measure title is exactly the same, relating to firearms. And both bills modify the same Hawaii Revised Statute. So it's germane, which is the other requirement. So this bill is compliant with the decision from the Supreme Court regarding the League of Women Voters. It follows our standard practice that we have within the legislature, and we have produced a very good bill that balances Second Amendment rights with public safety. And I urge all the members here to support it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Reyes-Oda.
With reservations, with comment.
Please proceed.
Thank you. When I ran for office, I was a teacher, and while I don't currently work in a school, I will always consider myself a teacher. The topic of gun laws required striking a delicate balance between Second Amendment rights and public safety. And as an educator, I cannot ignore the multitude of voices coming from parents and students who are in support of this measure and seek stronger protection against school shootings. As a parent, I don't like the statistic that guns are the leading cause of death among American children. In addition, when I researched, I found out that for every drowning death, there are 5 kids whose death is caused by firearms. As a kid who was raised in a house with an active card-carrying NRA member, I support the Second Amendment as defined by the Supreme Court, which recognizes our right to bear arms, but also holds that that right is not unlimited, and certain restrictions on guns and gun ownerships are permissible. My vote on with reservations is based on these reasons.
Representative Shimizu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in opposition with brief comments.
Please proceed.
I want to thank my esteemed chair of the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs for his very clear explanation, and I'm grateful for that clarification. As our colleague passionately expressed the other day, we represent our constituents. Although it's not unanimous and not everyone agrees, my prayer is that I am representing my constituents and this body well and honorably. I stand in opposition to represent those voices. And just to add that I believe that it is not necessarily a gun problem. It's a hurting people problem. People who have experienced trauma, been abused, are lost, in addiction and angry. We need to find better strategic solutions to help reach these people without creating overreaching consequences that take away any law-abiding citizens' rights. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Representative Souza.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support.
Please proceed.
Thank you, and I would like the words of the chair of the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee inserted into the record as my own.
So ordered.
And I would also like to make further comments.
Please proceed.
In 2022, there was a little boy from Hilo, an 11-year-old, a Boy Scout, who went to a family fun day at a Boy Scout troop shoot at a camp in Honoka'a. At this camp, one of the parents brought an arsenal of weapons that included an AK-47, which went off, and a bullet struck and killed that little boy from Hilo, who was my cousin, Manny Carvalho. Manny's dad, David, is also my godfather. Now, I know there are some intricacies with this bill that ban assault rifles with certain features and exempt some that are featureless, etc., but I hope legislation of this nature will lessen some of these situations where innocent lives are taken. So for Manny's sake, we can get tougher on some of our gun laws. Thank you.
Let's move on to Senate Bill number 601, SD1, HD1. Senate Bill 694, HD1. We're at the top of page 18. Senate Bill number 1231, SD1, HD1. Representative Reyes-Oda.
Reservations.
So ordered. Representative Shimizu.
Reservations, please.
So ordered. Moving on to Senate Bill number 1508, SD1. Representative Morikawa for the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the measures before us, all majority members vote aye with the exception of the following. On page 17, STANCOM report number 1750, SB number 401, SD2, HD1, the following vote no. Kila Kong. For STANCOM report number 1752, SB number 694, HD1, the following vote no. Kila Lamosao. Thank you.
Representative Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the measures before us, all minority members vote aye with the exception of the following. On page 17, SCR 1749, Senate Bill 116, SD2, HD1, Reps. Alcos, Garcia, Matsumoto, and Perrick vote no. SCR 1750, SB 401, SD2, HD1, Reps. Alcos, Garcia, Matsumoto, Muraoka, Shimizu, and Perrick vote no. SCR 1752, SB 694, HD1, Reps. Alcos, Garcia, Muraoka, and Perrick vote no. Page 18, SCR 1753, SB 1231, SD1, HD1, Reps. Alcos, Garcia, Matsumoto, Muraoka, and Perrick vote no.
Have all votes been cast? Okay. Said Senate bills pass third reading. Let's move on to item number 8, announcements. Members, are there any announcements? Representative Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And esteemed colleagues of the House, it is with a heavy heart that I rise today to formally inform this body of the passing of our dear friend, my mentor, and our colleague, Representative Gene Ward, who peacefully passed away early this morning. Gene Ward was more than just a legislator. He was a true statesman. He devoted his life to serving others from the villages of the Peace Corps to the halls of this Capitol. Gene brought wisdom, humility, and a global perspective to our local challenges, and he did it all with aloha. What I witnessed firsthand, and what many of us here can attest to, was a man driven by principle, a man unshaken in his values, and a man deeply committed to the people of Hawaii. He carried a special love for the Native Hawaiian people, advocating tirelessly for the preservation of their culture, rights, and future. Even in his final days, Gene was doing what he loved most, serving the people. And though we mourn his loss, we celebrate a life well lived in the service of God, country, and community. The Ward family has shared the following words with us this morning, and I quote, "On this Aloha Friday, my father, Gene, peacefully passed away in the early morning. On behalf of my mother and I, we want to thank the community for their abundance of prayers and kind thoughts. My father did what he loved most, serving others until the end. We will miss him, but he will live forever in our hearts." Feretta and Johanna Ward. And now, at the request of the family, Madam Speaker, I would like to close with the Lord's Prayer from the Gospel according to Matthew chapter 6, verses 9 through 13. And for those who want to join in Gene's honor, please feel free to do so. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Mahalo, Madam Speaker. And at the appropriate time after we adjourn, could we have a moment of silence in honor of the Honorable Representative of Hawaii Kai? And colleagues, please join us after the adjournment and moment of silence as we gather in a circle around Rep. Ward's chair and desk to sing Hawaii Aloha together. Mahalo.
Thank you. Representative Morikawa.
Madam Speaker, I move to keep the journal open until 10 p.m. for the purpose of receiving standing committee reports and Senate bills transmitted thereby.
Representative Garcia.
Madam Speaker, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Representative Morikawa.
Madam Speaker, I move that this House stand in recess until 9:00 a.m. Tuesday, April 8th.
Representative Garcia.
Madam Speaker, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The motion is carried. The House stands in recess until 9 a.m. Tuesday, April 8th. Recess.